This video is brought to you by Grandeur Warranty, your #1 online source for factory-backed extended warranties in the country.
Which vehicle should you buy, a pickup truck or an SUV?
It's interesting because as much as it looks like these are very different vehicles, one's a truck and one's an SUV, they're based on the same platform, they have the same powertrains, they're very similar in a lot of ways.
Here we have a brand new Toyota Tundra Platinum Edition. It's an iForce Max hybrid. And here we have a brand new Toyota Sequoia, which also has the same electrified twin-turbo V6 powertrain. And this is a capstone. They're both luxury SUVs and trucks. But here's the question, other than the obvious one has a bed and the other one doesn't, which one should you buy or would I buy?
In this video, we're going to do a little bit of a buyer's guide and talk about some of the differences because there are some interesting differences between these two besides the obvious. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with utility. Let's measure the bed on the Tundra because that's kind of where it starts, right? You're buying a full-size truck or a full-size SUV, which is frame-based. And this Platinum, look at this. The tailgate comes down gently.
And we're looking at about 65 inches.
So 65 here, basically 5.5 feet. And how much to here? Can you double check?
Sure.
How much to the very end?
About 89.
So this is about 8 feet here.
Yeah.
So if you were carrying a 4x8 sheet of material from your home improvement store, you could put it in here and it will be extending a little bit past the bed.
Yeah, and you can press a button on the side of the tailgate or on the tail light, and the tailgate goes up, and then actually a couple seconds later, that step automatically goes underneath. So some kind of cool power features.
Sick.
On this luxury trim.
Yeah, so the other part of utility is payload and towing.
Yeah.
Right? So actually they have very similar payloads, but the SUV is rated to tow a little bit less.
Yeah.
So let's look at the payload on the SUV, and I'll basically, the Tundra has about the same number.
Yeah, so if we check out the sticker here, you'll see 1,290 pounds.
Yes.
It's about the same number for the truck.
Yeah, which is
Actually,
interesting, right?
Exactly the same number, which is interesting, especially for a half-ton pickup truck. That's not a
That's
ton.
not very much.
No.
Yes, that's not very much. The Tundra is rated to tow about 11,000 pounds. This is rated between 9,000 and about 9,500 pounds, depending on the configuration. But this particular one, by the way, you could still pop the glass, but you remember the old Sequoias had actually roll down
drop
window.
down in the tailgate, which I like a lot. I think that's a pretty nice feature to have. The Tundra on the back, it's the entire back glass that slides down into the bulkhead, which that's pretty cool.
But the Sequoia kind of lost that feature. But here's the thing. Back before this generation of the Sequoia came out, the 2022 models and prior were kind of low volume vehicles. A lot of them were partially hand built. Then they moved it to San Antonio, Texas production facility in 2023 for this generation, and they almost tripled the number of Sequoias they sold. So even though this is not a humongous seller in the segment for, against the Chevy Tahoe and some others, this is still quite popular. And no matter which car or truck you have, if you plan on keeping it for a longer period of time, you should check out GrangerWarranty.com. Use the link in the description below. Grandeur Warranty is one of the best sellers of factory-backed extended warranties across the country, and you could save some money while doing it, about $1,000 on average. And you don't have to buy it immediately when you buy a brand new vehicle. You could wait a little bit and then get that warranty. And when your truck needs service, you can be sure that they're using certified components, OEM quality stuff, and the work is done at a certified facility or a dealership anywhere across the country.
Now this particular model is a 3-row.
Yes.
And you can tell that even though this third row, for that moment was slid forward.
Wow. There's not a lot of space.
Tons of space, so about 2 feet to the very edge.
And maybe a little bit less. and depending where the rear seat is, right?
It's like 18 inches with it all the way back.
So you could have, obviously, this is a 3-row SUV, so you could have, in this one, up to 7 people, and only about up to 5 people in the Tundra, right?
Yeah.
So that's an obvious consideration. But we'll drive both of these and talk about pricing in a second. But I do want to fold all these seats, Case, to see if we can actually
Absolutely.
measure this.
So you've got a switch back there. I've
Yes.
also got a switch up here.
Lots
where you
of
can
switches.
fold the seats. And yeah, obviously
Let me fold down this one as well.
they don't go completely flat. You could,
How about this? If I maintain this, what if we measure here?
yeah. So the seats
How
are
far?
kind of in the way. We're looking at about, I would say, 86, maybe 87 inches.
Okay.
So it's long, but the seats are in the
Can
way.
you measure
obviously.
side to side to see if
Sure.
4 feet? If it actually, could we go to the home improvement store?
Oh yeah. Well,
Mary, can you come over here? Look, yes, you can. 48 feet is 4 feet is here, so you could, in a pinch, you maybe can bring some material with you.
yeah, you could. The,
But I
the
wouldn't.
question is, with as high as it would be sitting, what are you
Yes.
going to do with the tailgate?
Oh no, my data! Hold on.
You got to go get your data, Andre.
Sorry.
I do like the fact that you can power fold that third row back up.
So really, dude, like, even if you wanted to bring that material, 4x8 sheet of plywood, it would be hard to close this, or you would have to
Yeah.
secure it with some straps or ropes, right?
Yeah.
So it would be quite a challenge.
It would. Definitely the truck would be better for that specific use case. Now, I think it's worth folding up the seat here. Andre, I will bite the bullet and jump into the third row.
Okay.
And even though Andre is a little taller than you're almost 6'3", I'm
How
about
you doing?
5'10". I'm doing all right back here. It's not too bad, at least with where the second row seat is right now.
Okay, and I'm pretty comfy here as well.
Yeah, it's not bad. I think the Grand Highlander or the Lexus TX have some of my favorite third rows.
Yeah.
So that might be the better option, but check this out. We've even got a little shade for the window all the way back here in the third row. I'm pretty impressed by that.
I have a shade also.
Vents as well, cup holders. So obviously, if you need to move a lot of people around, this is going to be the better option.
Yeah, and I mean, like a Toyota Grand Highlander or the Lexus TX,
Yeah,
they also have 3 rows. But those will not tow anywhere near what this will tow,
no,
because it's a body-on-frame SUV. Also, it has a solid rear axle,
yeah,
where everybody's switching to independent suspension in the back. The reason why this floor is a little bit higher is because it does have to package a hybrid battery. We'll talk about power in a second.
yeah,
And also the rear axle, which is under here. But see what it does? It doesn't give me a lot of headroom.
yeah, that's true.
So up here, especially with this panoramic sunroof, this ceiling comes down quite a lot.
Yeah, it is a little bit in your way. So if you're mostly hauling around your kids, it's probably not going to be an issue. If you're hauling around several Andres,
You may need to get another 3 row.
you may.
Probably. Yes.
Now, should we check out the front seat?
Yeah.
Because there's a few things about the inside of this Sequoia that are done really well. I also do like the fact that we've got climate controls in the back seat. Look at that. Heated and ventilated seats. That's pretty impressive. We've got power hookups back there. So this being a capstone, you do get quite a lot of features.
I know, yeah, it's full, a lot of luxury. And also, the front dashboard, we'll drive both of these and talk about a little bit about driving.
Yeah.
And also acceleration, because we've tested both of these at the drag strip, actually. Can we close the panoramic sunroof, because we have a lot of contrast and glare.
Got a lot of light coming in, but it is a very big sunroof, which is nice. And this being based on the Tundra,
Yes.
we have a lot of very similar features. Trailer brake controller that is very accessible, and it's a nice thing to have integrated. That being said, it's outside of my field of vision because it's blocked a little bit by the steering wheel.
Yeah, right here, yeah.
But we've got our 4-wheel drive selector, tow haul mode, drive mode selector, and a more traditional shifter, all of which is pretty nice. Do have some fairly extensive camera systems, 360 cam, because this is a very high trim level. It's maybe not the most high definition camera, but it works.
But a large screen too.
Huge screen.
Yeah, and we have ventilated seat, heated seats. I mean, this capstone is top of the line. We also have a towing package with big mirrors.
Yeah.
So if you check out the side mirrors, those are pretty humongous as well. So you could comfortably tow maybe a camping trailer behind you, anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, and I do have a heated steering wheel as well. The materials inside of the capstone are nice.
But it's a little bit gray on gray.
Yeah, it's our same complaint with the Tundra, which we'll see in a second, because that's also a very premium trim. And there's just not a lot of color, not a ton of contrast in the interior, so it doesn't necessarily feel like a super premium model, especially given the price, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yes, so how about this? How about we jump in the Tundra, take it for a quick test drive, and then finish with the test drive in here, and make a decision.
Let's find out.
Let's do it.
Now, before we go around the block, it's worth jumping into the back seat of the Tundra.
Okay. Here you go.
And this one does actually have side steps, but once again, pretty spacious, heated and ventilated seats. So also nice features to have.
And this is the Platinum iForce Max.
Also a huge sunroof. So they've done a lot of the same kind of nice features in the Tundra as in the Capstone. I know that for you, this roof is similarly a little low here
tight
in the back seat. A little tight, but for me at 5'10", it's not too bad.
But both of these are built at the same factory in San Antonio, Texas. So it makes sense why they have a lot of same parts.
Once again, from the front seat, a lot of the interior and features are pretty similar. Same kind of trailer brake controller, four-wheel drive selector, drive mode selector, and gear selector. A lot of selectors.
I'm gonna close the panoramic sunroof once again.
Yeah, so tons of similarities here in the dash. And like what we mentioned about the Sequoia, even though this is a premium trim, it does have a little bit of blue stitching. There's just not a ton in this interior that screams premium, top of the line. I wish they did a little bit more, maybe use some slightly more exotic materials.
Yeah, I would agree.
You like the 1794.
I do, because it's got the Western motif there.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe a better example.
Hold on, let me park in the shade. Let me park in the shade a little bit, so we can kind of see a little bit more of this right here,
now,
as far as the interior is concerned.
What do you think of actually navigating the software on these screens? It's something that's the same between the two of them. But
I know, and the gauge cluster as well is basically the same. I love that there's a lot of real estate on this screen, but what I don't love is that it feels a little sparse. You know what I'm saying? For example, there's a lot of kind of unused real estate in the screen. I would expect to see drive mode, animations. When I select my drive mode, I'm getting animation in here, normal, sport, and there's also similar settings for different off-road settings. But I think they could have used this space better.
I could see that.
And it's not super intuitive.
I do appreciate that they haven't cluttered the screen with the climate controls. That's something that they've left to a separate panel with physical buttons. That's all really nice. I think it's a little funky that in this day and age they're putting the USB-A right here.
Front and center.
Front and center in the dash, which feels a little old school. There are USB-Cs in the console, other places that you can plug in. I just think it's funny that they put that right
this
there.
Is kind of the way the
front and
console
center.
looks.
It's going to be a little tough to shoot, but there is a USB-C.
Yes.
So.
And not a lot of 115 volt, like a regular household outlet. There's not a lot of choices for that.
Yeah, there's a bigger outlet in the rear seat.
Yeah, there's something down here.
But not up front.
Yeah. So as far as like, we're not comparing it to other pickup trucks or other SUVs. We're doing that on TFL Trucks channel.
Yeah.
But as far as Sequoia versus Tundra, you'll find the same technology and kind of the same feeling.
Yeah, honestly, sitting in the front seat, it's hard to even tell which one you're in, unless you look in the mirrors and see the fact that there's a bed behind you.
Right.
Because the dash, the tech, everything up front here on the inside of it is so similar.
So I listed some prices. Do you want to open this? Because I want to talk about the starting price of a Tundra for 2026.
Yeah.
Because that's a humongous difference between the Tundra and the Sequoia.
It is one of the major differences between this vehicle and that Sequoia, because you can get a very basic work truck version of the Tundra for a lot less. You gonna show us the acceleration?
Yeah, I will. And if you're curious about drag racing and actual numbers for acceleration, we have a lot more about it on our TFL Trucks channel coming up soon.
Yeah, so you can see this Tundra drag racing against a lot of different vehicles. We even did a little bit of drag racing with the Sequoia as well.
Exactly. And funny thing happened, actually. The funny thing was that the Sequoia is a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
Because it's got a larger body, obviously, when it's empty. It's a little bit heavier than the Tundra. And it actually accelerated quicker.
Yeah, which was interesting.
Which was odd, because I think it's
maybe got a little better traction.
Yeah, I think it's able to put that weight over the rear axle a little bit better, and it actually accelerates a little bit better.
Yeah, because this Tundra hybrid system has 437 horsepower, 583 pound-feet of torque, and a 10-speed, so it's definitely got enough power and enough torque to spin the rears. Should we hit it?
Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
So it won't probably blow you away, but it's plenty strong.
Yeah, it's not a Raptor R.
Yeah.
It's nothing that crazy, but it's got a lot of power and a lot of torque, so that's definitely not an issue. But if you're shopping around and trying to be a little bit more frugal and you're interested in price structure, that's where one of the major differences between this and the Sequoia come in. So you can get a very basic Tundra SR work truck, two-wheel drive, starting at about $43,000.
And that's without the hybrid system.
Yeah, that's just
the twin turbo V6.
the base engine and a lot less power and two-wheel drive. So overall a very basic truck.
Yes.
The lowest end Sequoia that you can get is still a hybrid, so it's got a better,
More
arguably,
horsepower,
powertrain, yeah. And it's an SR5, that's the base model on the Sequoia. So it's already a little bit more premium than the Tundra, and that starts at $66,000. So the difference in base prices is huge.
Yeah, so you really have to make a choice really, really fast. Do you need, is your use case where you're carrying more people? Or is utility of the bed more important to you? Because you're gonna pay for the Sequoia form factor a lot more.
And it's especially noticeable because you went on the configurator and you actually configured a Tundra Limited four-wheel drive, iForce Max, so a hybrid, so better than that Sequoia in pretty much every way, other than carrying a lot of people around.
Yes.
But the way that it's spec'd out, features all that better, for $63,000. So you can get a four-wheel drive hybrid version of the Tundra for less than a base SR5 two-wheel drive Sequoia.
Yeah, and that's kind of where the SUV just carries a premium, right? A lot of the same technology, same powertrain. They share also a lot of the frame, right?
Yeah.
So in 2022, when they were deciding, or 2021 or before, when they were deciding for the next generation of the Sequoia, they were just going to cancel it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the team made a business case at Toyota, because I have a little bit of the backstory, and they basically said, let's use a lot of the chassis of the new Tundra and let's make the new Sequoia. And that's what they did.
Yeah.
And we were relatively successful with it.
Yeah, the other interesting thing is if this Tundra were a capstone spec very similar to that Sequoia, it would be about $83,000 versus $86,000 for the Sequoia. And actually, that particular Sequoia is even more than $86,000.
Yeah, and we'll show that in a second. All right, let's take the Sequoia for a drive.
Yeah, we might as well. They are, once again, going to be very similar.
But maybe the Sequoia is a little bit more comfy. Let's find out.
Yeah, there are a few differences. They, of course, make all the same unlock and lock noises. There's definitely more similarities than differences between these two in their powertrains, in their frames, their structures, the technology being used.
Yeah, but this vehicle, like I said, is a little bit more heavy, just the way it sits. And maybe it's just settled a little bit more. So first, let's do an acceleration and see how this feels and if our data is actually backed up by what we experienced.
See if it feels like it's any different. It does somehow feel like it's quicker.
I know, just a little bit.
Yeah.
That's really odd.
Could be a slight difference in the tuning. It's hard to say. Could be a difference in axle ratios. That Toyota is a 331
Exactly.
rear axle ratio, I believe. I don't know about this.
I think there might be very similar, actually. I don't
Yeah.
know that either.
So-
But what I do know is if you're thinking about a long road trip, their ratings are about the same, about 22 mpg on the highway for both. But the Sequoia has a smaller fuel tank.
Yeah.
So you got to consider that.
Yeah, these are definitely not hybrid systems that are designed to be super efficient. They're hybrid systems that are designed to add power. And they definitely do, because 587 pound-feet of torque,
That's
or 583 rather.
Yeah, that's a lot of torques.
That's tons. You're closing in on 600 pound-feet of torque. That's
That's-
very impressive
That's
number.
almost diesel territory.
Yeah.
So,
But it does kind of come with a caveat, especially in the Sequoia, which is the price. And this Sequoia in particular that we're driving is about $89,000.
yeah, that's pricey. But you have to remember that it also goes up against many other competitors like GMC Yukons, which can be the same price or more. Lincoln, there's a lot of different levels of other competitive SUVs in the segment.
There are, but this is a very competitive segment, and for $90,000, expectations are going to be pretty high, and it's going to have to perform very well. I will say it's definitely got a very truck-like ride quality to it. You can tell it's got a solid rear axle. You could tell that it's a traditional body-on-frame construction. That's not something that bothers me, but it is something you notice.
Yeah, and I think this capstone specifically, it's highlighted by those big wheels and not a lot of sidewall. So I think if you got a different wheel tire package, it may be a little bit cushier than this capstone.
Yeah, the big luxury wheels are going to have an impact on the ride quality, obviously. But it's not a bad SUV. I just think it is a lot of money, and it's definitely in a very competitive segment.
All right, well, we need to make a final call. Let's just step outside next to these two. And I think I know which way I'm going.
Yeah, we'll pull up next to the Tundra here, and we can pick a favorite. Because ultimately, between the two, I think there is a clear winner. Obviously, it's going to depend specifically on your use case. If you need to haul around a lot of landscaping equipment, or you need to pull the heaviest trailers, truck's going to be the obvious choice. If you have a huge family, or you need to haul around a lot of people, this is going to be the obvious choice. But if you are in a situation where either one of these could satisfy your needs, Tundra's the way to go, because it's a lot less expensive.
Yeah, it will haul up to 5 people, obviously. So, and it's a little bit more affordable in a lot of cases, a lot more affordable. And it's just a better long-range cruiser because it has a bigger fuel tank. So I think I would go Tundra unless, like you said, you have 2 or 3 kids and they want to bring their friends with them. Then you should probably take a look at the Sequoia.
And at that point, it might also be worth considering something like the Grand Highlander, unless you also do need to be pulling trailers, in which case there is definitely a situation in which a Sequoia makes sense. But unless you specifically need to haul pretty heavy trailers and you have to haul around a lot of people as well, which, by the way, if you're closing in on the max that this can tow,
Exactly.
you're going to be struggling a little bit for payload. So you would kind of have to do one or the other. You can't necessarily do both at the same time.
Exactly. You cannot put 7 adults in here and then pull 9,000 pounds. That's not going to work.
It's not going to happen. So.
All right. Well, let us know what you think from this comparison. Check out oldtfl.com for a lot more testing. So this was kind of a buyer's guide.
Yeah.
But we have a lot more numbers to put behind when we compare a lot of these SUVs as well.
And we'll see you next time.